Welcome to Murfreesboro Storytellers. Our guest for this program is Ginna Foster Cannon, who is Director of Cultural and Heritage Tourism for the Rutherford County Chamber of Commerce. Ginna, welcome.
Thank you so much.
Welcome to our community, as a matter of fact.
Oh, I am so pleased to be here.
Ginna, this is a new position at the Chamber, I believe.
It is.
Describe what it entails.
So the CVB is the tourism arm for the Chamber of Commerce. And so what I focus on is all things arts, history, and anything cool and unique about Rutherford. So traditionally our business has really been built on sports marketing, and then group sales, and then tour groups, and some Civil War. And so they did a study back in 2017, and they identified a real need within the community to focus on the arts and history. And so I was fortunate enough to get the position.
Oh, wonderful. And where better to do our program than in Oaklands Mansion, which is the center of cultural heritage here.
It really is.
Well, you've been on board with the Chamber almost a year now. Tell us about your background. Where are you from originally, and what's your experience in this particular field?
Well, I did my undergraduate work in history and literature at Harvard, and then I got my MBA at Columbia in marketing and management, and then I moved down to Tennessee about 13 years ago and started a program at Vanderbilt called the Masters of Liberal Arts and Science. And whenever anyone asked me what that is, I was like, it's really just like, if you can't get enough school, you go back and you do more. And then after that, I did my PhD in public history here with Dr. West at MTSU in public history. And so I did my dissertation on Tennessee's historic hotels as cultural and heritage tourism assets. So being the director of cultural and tourism is just an absolute perfect fit.
Absolutely. And you're a native of New York, I believe.
I am, of Manhattan.
Manhattan, right. A real New Yorker.
Yes. Contrast
this area with where you grew up.
You know, it is so different, and yet I feel so at home in both places. Nashville, Tennessee, Rutherford County has for me is I grew up coming to Lookout Mountain. My grandparents and my aunt and uncle and cousins lived on Lookout Mountain. So for 2 weeks each summer, I would come down to Tennessee. And so there's something about the mountains and the green of Tennessee that have always called to me. And about 13 years ago, I decided to move down here, and it's been the best decision of my life.
Let's talk about the challenges you have in this new position with the Chamber. We have so much heritage here to be able to illuminate and be able to spread the word about. How do you approach this?
Well, that's a great question. And the nice thing is I'm not doing it alone. I am one person in the Chamber focused on it, but really it's a community desire and demand to bring together the cultural heritage assets and the people and the places and the stories, and to do it better, bigger together. And so what we're doing is we're creating the Rutherford Arts Alliance, which is a new nonprofit. And so that is really focused on advocacy, which is how I got to see you up at the Capitol for arts advocacy back in March.
That's right.
And then we promote the destination and the community, Rutherford, as a cultural heritage place and one so rich. I call it the richness of Rutherford. And then we also advocate and we talk about the economic benefits of the arts and the history. And then we bring people together. And by bringing them together, there's more opportunity for networking, collaboration. And then lastly, what we do is we look across the assets and we say, what is missing here and how can we help address that? So there are many people working on this together, and that's why I really think I have the most fun job in all of Rutherford. There's no doubt in my mind.
So you're more or less a coordinator, I guess, as a matter of fact.
You know, I really do coordinate, and I love that role. And then I also get to use some of my MBA to do segmenting the market, because this is a new piece of business for tourism. So we did, for example, the Rutherford County Visitor Survey. So it was a multi-month survey, both in person and online. And we teamed up with MTSU.
Have you completed that?
We have completed it, and it gave us lots of good insights.
Tell us what you learned.
Okay, so we also had done it in 2015, and so we can see change over time. And what the typical visitor today is a 49-year-old woman traveling with at least one other adult, staying in a hotel, who spends over 2 nights here and spends over $600 as a party. And so what we know that they love is the shopping and eating local. They love to visit MTSU, visit the square. There's so many exciting things to visit and to do and to experience. And that's really what cultural heritage tourism is. When I was doing my research, I sort of started in the traditional heritage tourism. And I thought, history can be a little dusty on its own. So I went off, and while I was doing my dissertation, and found cultural heritage tourism and studied it for over a year. And really the beauty about that is it's about the people and the places and the artifacts and the stories and authentic experiences and the past and the present, and bringing those all together. Because I don't know about you, but I know the way I travel is there's a little bit of shopping, a little bit of eating, and then we go and we do something cultural or historic, and then maybe we'll go take a walk and we'll admire the landscape, either the built landscape like a historic district like we have either at the Depot District in Smyrna or the downtown core around the square, or we will go on a greenway and we'll enjoy the natural beauty. And we here in Rutherford have been so fortunate to have a community that has invested in our green spaces. And as we continue to grow, it's important to continue to build out those green spaces, because it only gets harder as there's more growth and more development.
There are so many events that take place in this community that bring people here. For instance, Oaklands Mansion has a lot of special occasions during the year.
Most definitely. Oh, and often it is a theme. Civil War is a big theme. So they'll go to the National Battlefield, they'll come over to Oaklands, they'll do different spots on the Civil War Trail, including Sam Davis and the square. And even the chamber itself is built on part of the battlefield. So if you want to go and read a great wayside, which is one of those little plaques. My favorite one is actually right outside our front door at the chamber, and it tells the whole history of the Civil War in Rutherford County.
Is there one attraction here that brings people more than the others?
Well, when I was looking at the Nashville Business Journal a few months ago, in terms of paid attendees, Discovery Center had 117,000 paid attendees. And so I was just giving a big old clap to them. Tara McDougall and her team over there has done an amazing job. And also as a family, we get to take part in that because my daughter is, for her 3rd summer in a row, going to camps at the Discovery Center. So now I know it both as a partner, a tourism partner, and as an RAA contributor, and also as a mom and a parent.
And the Discovery Center is located on the spot where the Murfreesboro Waterworks used to be for many years ago.
Yes, exactly. And then another huge draw, and probably the biggest one, is MTSU itself. With its roots as a teacher's college, and now being the largest undergraduate institution here in Tennessee. And so it brings so many different people. So I think a great opportunity for us is really to partner even more closely with MTSU. And for example, if you think about somebody coming on campus as a new student, well, they have at least 4 years, or if they're doing their doctoral work like me, over 6 years. And then you have their family and friends coming to visit them and their grandparents. And then so many people who go to MTSU end up moving here and working here, as I know I have, because it's such a wonderful place to be.
So many events that the Chamber's involved in, like, for instance, Spring Fling, which is just recent. And what do you do to get those people to do more than just go to the ball game?
Oh yes, well, we are talking it up. That's really a business to business sort of piece of. If you think about this segment, sort of the part I'm working on is business to consumer, because it's the tourists who are coming for cultural heritage, all the cool and unique. And if you think about sports, we work with TSSAA, the Tennessee Secondary Sports Athletic Association. Good. I'm glad. I was like, and so we work with them. And then once people get here, we work with our different local partners, both the hotels and the restaurants, to make sure that they have a great welcome. And then we also have volunteers who adopt teams and show them around and tell them all the great things that they can do. Because often they're here for multiple days. Mm-hmm. And so we really want to do a lot of cross-promotion to make sure that they get to take advantage of more than just the ball fields.
We have lots of attractions, as we've already mentioned. What are we lacking in increasing the cultural tourism?
Well, I think it's the visual thing that you look at. Mm-hmm. If you say we are an arts and history destination and I want to point you to that place, it's hard to point you to. I can say, well, once every 2 months for a 3-hour period, we have a great art crawl. Mm-hmm. That's not, you can't really point to that. I can say, well, you can go to Tucker Theater on the weekends for these sort of performances. I could say you could go to the Center for the Arts and you can be one of 126 seats for the 3 performances per weekend. That's not enough. We mm-hmm. need more public, bigger, so we can really point to what we are, because there is so much happening right now. There was a study done a few years ago, and the economic impact for the arts in Rutherford County is $31.2 million. And so they went and they talked to the 36 different nonprofits in the cultural and historic nonprofit mm-hmm. field. And then they got their operating budgets, and they looked at how much do they spend locally. And of that 31.2, 10.8 of it was spent locally by the institutions. The rest of that number is spent by the attendees. There's about 1 million attendees who go to these 36 institutions, okay. and they each spend a certain amount on other things other than the ticket price. So, for example, getting a babysitter, getting a souvenir, buying a slushie, going out to dinner, all paying for parking, paying for gas, paying for a hotel. So what we want to do is try to change that percentage, not only grow the number of people, because there's about 1 million. Mm-hmm. If we can grow that number, that's a beautiful thing. But right now, about 3/4 of them are local residents who are going to these events. And a local resident spends on average $19 versus the non-Rutherford County okay. person pays almost $30, spends almost $30. So from a tax point of view, I don't know about you, but I would much rather the non-natives come in and we get the tourism dollars, and then it'll bring our property taxes down.
That's what we call free money.
Yes, free money. So it pays for our roads and our schools, and they're not mm-hmm. populating them but a few hours or a few days at a time.
I don't know whether there is such a thing, but tell me what is a typical day for you?
A typical day for me, I spend a lot of time on the phone.
Okay.
And that goes back to, you say coordinator, and I think of it more as a networker. Okay. I am forever talking to different people. So I spend a part of the day on Rutherford Arts Alliance. I'm the vice chair of that. So there's a group of us on the executive committee who are putting the bones together. Mm-hmm. Right now we're working on the nomination process and setting up the next meeting. We have monthly meetings every the second Tuesday of every month. The next one's at MTSU. And then I spend it on like the visitor survey. And so we worked with all of our different partners and with the consultant to go out and develop the questions, to ask the questions, to interpret the results. And then we put together, because I'm a big believer in capacity building. As I said, I love school mm-hmm. and I love learning. And so I'm bringing that capacity building to our tourism partners. So we have CVB Connect. So we have, it's about once a month, some sort of workshop or gathering. For example, we had Nicole Foran, who runs the arts department over at MTSU, come talk about arts advocacy and all of the different great things that MTSU is doing. We had the Rutherford visitor survey workshop, a half morning, to go through, here are the results, and then to take it a step farther, say the second half was, what data are you collecting as a tourism partner? How could you be collecting different data so when we come back in 3 to 5 years, you have the questions and the info you know to be doing what you do better? And then next week we're having, for example, a second hospitality workshop. So we have a consultant coming in to do conflict management. We had done a little survey at the end of our first one and back in December, and people said conflict management is a subject we care about. So we're going back and we're offering that, because the better we as individuals and institutions do, the stronger we are. Sure. And then if we start working together, we have everything here already that we need. And part of what I really want to do is to make sure that all of the locals know. Because what hurts my heart is when I hear somebody said, you know, what should I do here in Murfreesboro? What should I do in Smyrna? What should I do in Rutherford? And they say, yeah, go to Nashville. What? Are you kidding me? Like, first of all, Nashville is wonderful, and
Sure.
there's a real opportunity there. Don't get me wrong. You can go to the honky tonks. You can go to Belle Meade Plantation. You can do so many different things. But what this has is this sense of place. And what you need to do is take a moment and really to soak it all up. Okay. One of my favorite exhibits was done by a PhD student over at MTSU Center for Historic Preservation at the Heritage Center, Lane Tilner. And it's called Stories of the Road, and it's currently up. It opened maybe in February. And it's talking about the Heritage Center, which is where Main Street is as well, is based on College Street. And what she did is looked at the different layers of stories. So the first one is Trail of Tears. So the Trail of Tears literally passed right there on College Street and then went right up on East Main.
Explain the Trail of Tears.
So the Trail of Tears is when the Native Americans were forcibly removed from their homes in North Carolina, Tennessee, and sent out west. And so when you go to different houses, and the Center for Historic Preservation has been working closely with the National Park Service and really leading their work on Trail of Tears across the U.S. And so they have pamphlets that you can go and you can see which houses were standing at the time, and they call those witness houses. And you think about telling a story if you have a material piece there that you can stand and you say, this was here. Somebody was sitting on the porch watching the people walk by. It's very powerful. And then another layer is the Civil War. So as we know, a lot of the fighting even happened in downtown Murfreesboro and right here out at Oaklands and many of the players. And then the next layer is the Dixie Highway. And so you can also get into the story of the Green Book, which is the African American travel book. And sort of you think about the whole experience of what it was like during Jim Crow segregation to travel. And that's one of the things that I had worked on in my dissertation. And so there's a poster there of different Green Book sites that are still standing, hotels, restaurants, businesses that a group of us did. And so there's a big poster if you want to learn more about that. And the last is the Seward's Air Force Base.
Oh, yes.
And so once again, it's when you see the layers of the history and when you take a moment to stand and absorb them and to think, how does my personal history weave in with all of those? It's very powerful. And really, it's going and asking people, what do you care about? Because cultural heritage tourism for me is sort of like a Chinese menu. It's saying, oh, do you like dino? Oh, I love dinos. Okay, we'll go over to Earth Experience. And you know, you've got the 5-year-old who might want to see the dino, or maybe it's the 85-year-old in you who wants to see the dino. Then go across the street and there's Mayday Brewery and see the fabulous murals, have some local beer, have a local, you know, some local food from a local food truck, and really sort of open your eyes to what's happening here in Rutherford, because so much is happening here.
And Mayday Brewery is at the location of the Busa Ribbon Mills, which was a very important part of World War II.
Oh, I did not know that. Well, thank you. Well, now I'm going to add that to my repertoire.
I believe for parachutes and that type of thing was done there. So that goes back to the history of Rutherford County.
Yes, that is wonderful. Thank you.
As we had been, after World War II, really struggled and worked hard to bring in industry to our community. And it's interesting how the life of the industry will pass and they'll move on, because we have several major manufacturing companies, I think that I mentioned to you before, General Electric, Chromalox, various others, Samsonite, who are long gone now. But we have other type of businesses, other types of industry that have come in in a very important part.
And what I really think of myself as is the advocate for nurturing and promoting these assets, whether they be historical, artistic, or the green spaces, because they're very hard to get back. Once you spend them, if you look at Franklin, for example, when they spend millions and millions of dollars to buy the Pizza Hut and take it down to reclaim pieces of the battlefield, it's easier to preserve what you have. And we still do have lots of green space and lots of historic sites like this beautiful one. But I look at Nashville and I see all of those, like Music Row, things being torn down. My neighborhood, things are being torn down at a record pace. That we still have a great core of historic individual homes. And I would love to see us preserve those and not be a land of tall and skinnies.
We mentioned the Stones River National Battlefield. Specifically, how do you work with them? And I'm sure they draw a lot of visitors.
Oh, they do. They get over 500,000 a year. And really, how I work with them is Jim Lewis, the chief interpreter, is just, well, he's fabulous. I mean, Civil War is not naturally where I gravitate towards, but if you sit with one of these rangers and have them explain to you what the battlefield means and how it works, they've spent so much time and money really making the user experience at the battlefield one that is engaging to different audiences. I'm not as interested in the great man in the battle plans, but there's the story of the home front. There's the African American contraband story. There's the story of the transportation lines and saying, like, this is why it's important, because they had to protect the railroad lines, because without those railroad lines, you could not bring the provisions down to Chattanooga. And as we all know, there were so many different important battles happening right there. And for me, it's also the story of the green space and the nature and the preserves and what that is doing for our community today.
Well, wonderful. We have a tremendous heritage here, as we've already pointed out, and it's wonderful that you're working through the chamber to be able to expand the knowledge of it and the awareness of it and be able to preserve it, as a matter of fact.
Well, thank you so much. It's just such an honor to have the moment to speak with you and to get to know you better, and also to share the richness of Rutherford, because I believe that we have so much here. And the more that people know about it and embrace it as their own, the better to nurture it and to grow it and to build something new.
Wonderful. Well, if you had one wish for something for the future, what would that be?
My one wish for the future would be for us to be known as a college town.
Okay.
Because for a college town, one, it is a competitive advantage that nobody else can be the home of MTSU.
Very true.
And an arts town, because what do you find when you go to a great college town? You find lots of books and local restaurants and local food and lots of arts, and it's dynamic, and there's also that historic sense of place. And we have everything that we need to make this a great college town, and one where it embraces its past and it strives for a future that's even more creative and more vibrant.
Well, we're blessed to have MTSU here, and it certainly is a large part of our heritage, coming about in 1911. And until this day, as you mentioned earlier, is the largest undergraduate institution in the state of Tennessee.
And I'm so excited with the new fermentation program and to see MTSU Arts, which is MTSU bringing together all the arts in one place. And I'm always telling people about the calendar. So if you want to know about the dance or the theater or what's happening at Saturdays at Todd, which is part of the Nicole Foreign Department of Arts, you can find it all in one location. And so I'm just really excited to partner more and more with MTSU, the individual institutions, the individual artist, whether it be a culinary artist or somebody doing a mural. Because wouldn't it be great to have the creativity that is here already more visible? Sort of a bigger, bolder vision of what is already here.
You mentioned the Arts Alliance several times. Isn't there a future plan for including in the community an arts center?
Yes, one of the groups who works with the Arts Alliance is working on a performing arts center. And I highly recommend learning more about it from Terry Gross and Mark Wilson. And it's for, I believe, a 6,000 seat theater, and with multiple different uses and spaces. It is a grand vision and one that our community would really benefit from.
I understand they have a tentative plan drawn up as a physical plan.
They do, and it's the architect who did the Nashville Convention Center, among other things. And he's a local home-ground boy who, whose father was, I believe, the department chair over at MTSU in the music and so really has real roots here.
Oh yeah, we're talking about Kim Hinton.
Yes.
Who's a partner with Tuck Hinton Architects, and certainly been a very large part of developing this community as well as the Middle Tennessee community. Ginna, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure.
Congratulations on filling this position, and my word, the knowledge you already have of this community is just amazing.
Well, thank you. I really love it so much, and I just can't wait to see what comes in the next 5 years.
Oh, I'm sure. We'll be looking forward to it.
Appreciate it.
We've just had Ginna Foster Cannon as our guest. Ginna is the Director of Cultural and Heritage Tourism for the Rutherford County Chamber of Commerce. Thank you, Ginna.
Thank you.